Firstly, amendments to the Constitution are not set in stone. They reflect the time in which they are written and are subject to change as time moves on. For instance, the 18th Amendment prohibited alcohol and was in turn repealed by the 21st, and others have altered voting and election procedures as these have changed over time. The amendments closely reflect the time in which they are written. The first 10 amendments were written by people trying to balance the rights of individuals against the real danger that the state could be invaded by a foreign power. Not a shock when, less than a decade earlier, they were in a struggle for the very existence against Britain. Examples of this balancing act can be clearly seen in the first 3 amendments, the first being the protection of free speech, which can be seen as a crucially important right and stands the test of time. The third amendment, however, can be clearly seen as reflecting the time in which it was written, since it states, "No soldier shall in time of peace be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law." Whilst no one would want soldiers to be put in their house without their consent, it isn't really an issue of the modern day, but at the time it had been a considerable grievance with the King George's British soldiers, related to a time when most armies were small during peacetime, as were their stocks of weapons and equipment. These stocks were normally bolstered during times of conflict by raising local militias, who normally brought their own muskets and equipment with them. This brings us to the Second Amendment, which is often misquoted or inadequately quoted as the right to bear arms. The correct statement of the amendment is a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. As you can see from this full quote, it stems from a time when there was only a small regular army and the state had a small supply of weapons. It was vital for the state to allow people to bear arms in order to facilitate the rapid mobilisation of a militia. Failure to enable a rapid deployment of a militia would almost certainly have doomed the new country, and therefore was essential to the formation of a new state. However, now the USA has the largest, best equipped professional army in the world and has no need to rely upon a well-regulated militia. Therefore, the Second Amendment is no longer fundamental to the defence of the United States from foreign powers seeking to invade it. The question, therefore, is what do you do with the Second Amendment? You could repeal it, or you could have it only in force for those people serving in the reserves or the army. Therefore, you have a right to bear arms only if you're in the National Guard, the army, the reservists, or a local regulated militia. Those are my views. What about you?